Yes. The state of Colorado and Oregon are voting this November 4th. Our measures are identical between us and Colorado on the sticking points. Everybody has state-specific things about how it will be enforced or implementation, that kind of stuff. But the main points about, hey, this covers retail food. That's what we're going after. Foods that are already labeled, we're trying to add a statement onto those. That's what we're talking about. It's the same between us, the same 0.9% tolerance. So
trying to get GMOs into the European market, specifically into the UK. And they got tentative approval, but it had to be labeled. And right from the get-go, most of the other countries have said, okay, we'll take a look at it, but it's got to be labeled so our people know.
Monsanto said, this is to inform you about the use of biotechnology in food. Monsanto fully supports UK food manufacturers and retailers in their introduction of these labels. We believe you should be aware of all the facts before making a purchase. And this is what they said to the people of the UK.
After the people demanded the labels.
When it comes down to transparency, that's truly all we're asking for. It's a simple factual statement. So Measure 92 is, third in line. You had California Prop 37, Washington's I-522. They similarly hung on this, it's your right to know. It should be information that's available to everyone.
$11 million that is coming into this campaign from the outside is coming from 19 corporations from the outside and 1 corporation inside. None of the money is coming from individual Oregonians. And our money is coming. We have a little bit of money that's coming from the outside, but not like them. But we have thousands and thousands of Oregonians that are putting up their money. If you're going to have an initiative and it's for the voters, let the voters finance it. Let the voters speak.
I am extremely proud to say that the Yes on 92 campaign has over 14,000 individual people donating money to our campaign. Yes leads to real people.
Kraft, Pepsi, Coke, Fritos, they make products, Hershey's, they make products here in the US with GMOs, label it, and ship it to foreign markets, but they won't do it for us.
We're definitely making progress. We're really going to create history here in Oregon when we pass this.
We didn't understand pesticides. So sometimes we'd be working in the fields and the planes would come over, they'd come by with the tractors and spray us, because none of us knew what DDT was, right? I went to work for a guy by the name of Cesar Chavez, who some of you may have known, and worked on the medicine. Yeah, that's what I say. And Cesar Chavez went on a 36-day fast in 1988 because in Lamont and Delano and other places around there in the San Joaquin Valley, we saw a high cancer rate. We saw kids being born without limbs, kids being born with their organs outside, and he said it's because of pesticides. Roundup is affecting more people in America than anything that they could release anywhere else in the world.
In 2011, we organized the Right to Know March. It was a 315-mile march from Brooklyn to DC, demanding the labeling of GMOs. It was the first large-scale action in this country related to GMOs. We've definitely been fighting this fight for a long time, and it's just now starting to make it into the mainstream.
Flavor Saver tomato, exactly. It's made by a California company called Calgene. And one of the interesting things about it was the very first GMO for sale in the US had a label. It had a little sticker right on it that said, Genetically Engineered. Because back then they were really proud of it. It was cutting edge technology, it was the dawn of a new era, it was the biotechnology gold rush, and they were really, really proud of it. There's a sticker right on it. A few years later, they were trying to get GMOs into the European market, specifically into the UK. There was so much uproar in the UK in the late 90s, they were actually talking about banning GMOs. They said, look, there's no consumer benefit to these things. So Monsanto started running ads in the UK papers, and I will read for you. Monsanto paid to run these ads, and I think it's really important to listen to what they had to say. Food labeling. It has Monsanto's full backing. Before you buy a potato or any other food, you may want to know whether it's the product of biotechnology. Recently, you may have noticed a label appearing on some of the food in your supermarket. This is to inform you about the use of biotechnology in food. Monsanto fully supports UK food manufacturers and retailers in their introduction of these labels because we believe you should be aware of all of the facts before making a purchase. This is what they said. If you go to their website and you dig deep enough, you'll find that their explanation is at the time, the GMO labeling was voluntary. That is incorrect. GMO labeling was never voluntary in the UK.
Heinz ketchup contains GMO corn syrup here in the United States. They reformulated it so they don't have to label it in Europe using cane sugar. So there's no label on that. There's nothing stopping them from doing that same thing in our country here. Cheerios earlier this year reformulated Cheerios to be GMO free, put a sticker on the packaging. So they both reformulated and labeled. And they did not change the price of Cheerios one bit. Same thing with grape nuts. Ben & Jerry's in 2014 is reformulating every single one of their ice creams. So they're reformulating every single of their products to be GMO free and not a penny is being raised on the price of their ice cream. Consumer Reports did the study. Their number that they came up with was $2.30 per person per year.
Why do these 64 countries around the world label GMOs? Well, there's two things. One is they know that oftentimes there is a decades-long lapse from when a product comes onto the market and that we develop either the knowledge and or the technology to detect the harm that that product causes. DDT, PCB, asbestos, BPA are all examples of this. And so what these countries have said is, okay, there's some scientific research that isn't showing a lot of harm from them right now, but A, we know that these problems from these products often take decades to manifest themselves, and B, almost all of the safety testing to date has been done on rodents. There is almost no human safety testing at all. So they have said, we're going to label these for 30 years, because really it's going to take us that long, and perhaps longer, to know if these are really safe for humans. So for 30 years we're going to label. After 30 years we'll take a look at the science, we'll take a look at the data on human health, and we will either ban these products, we will continue to label, or we will remove the labels. So why don't we do that in the US? Why don't we do that for our own people? Are rodent studies sufficient to detect harm in humans? A lot of experts say that no, they are not. The industry loves rodent studies. They're relatively inexpensive, they're short-term, usually 90 days, and most interestingly, the problems usually manifest themselves around 110 days, 115 days, 120 days. This is when the tumors and the lesions start appearing. So 90-day rodent studies are fantastic for the industry. They create this illusion of rigorous scientific safety testing. But you know, with asbestos, you don't get exposed to asbestos and develop mesothelioma 2 weeks later, 2 years later. It's 30, 40 years down the road. This is why we need to have GMOs labeled in the state of Oregon. We need to know, we have a right to know. 20 years ago, the chemical companies that make these GMOs introduced them to the marketplace. We took a look and we said, no thanks, we'll pass. And they said, well, you're going to eat it anyway. And we're going to hide it in the food system, and we're not going to tell you about it, and you're going to eat it anyway. On November 4th, we're going to take back our right to know what's in our food. We are going to get this passed. The whole world is watching what we're doing. The whole country is watching what we're doing. Everybody knows that Oregon has the best chance of any other state of getting this done. Folks, we are this close to making this happen.
It is up to us to wake up. It's up to us to stand up, to speak up, and to vote on these issues. Vote yes on 92. Vote yes.